Hi, you guys. If you like my content, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification button so I can keep doing this. Yay. So this is my warrior filter. It's really beautiful. Look, it's got like butterflies and everything. I don't know, it felt like warrior. There's obviously a lot of insight in the warrior video that we can take away. And I did hint on my Instagram that we should all be paying attention to why people go to this warrior camp and why specifically Louis Ruelas might have gone to this warrior camp, and more importantly, who's in the crowd with him. And I guess I want to say, and some people who've been to the warrior camp, maybe not even at the same time as Louis Ruelas, or maybe with Louis Ruelas. So let's get into it. So, of course, I do my deep dives, and I found this article from June 5th, or was it June 3rd, 2017, in the New York Post. It's called, "This Boot Camp for Men Claims It'll Revive Your Primal Nature." Well, this boot camp happens to be Warrior Boot Camp, the same one that Louis Ruelas went into, so I thought I'd help you guys understand what it's all about. And then I've got some very specific gossip I'm going to spill. So we're going to start off with this, right? So this gentleman by the name of Rusty Ram, geez, sounds like a porno name, was perched on a stool, his legs tethered to the piece of furniture and his arms bound behind him. A man stuffed a wad of gauze into Ram's mouth and taped it shut, then shoved Vaseline up his nostrils. He sat like that for more than an hour as an EMT watched. "Obviously, I was having troubles breathing at this point," said Ram, a 47-year-old entrepreneur who owns 7 different companies. "But I was a smoker, and they told me if I continued to smoke, that's what my breathing would be like if someone tried to kick down the door and break into my home and I had to protect my family." There are the coaches of the Warrior Week, an intensive program to make executives from tech and finance and other high-pressure industries to learn the hidden science of accessing nearly unlimited sex, power, and money as a married businessman. According to the program's website, Ram shelled out $10,000 for the privilege of being bound, gagged, and run ragged for 5 days and nights in Laguna Beach, California in April. Drills included being thrown off a boat into the Pacific Ocean while blindfolded, dunked into a tank of ice water, and visiting a cemetery where the men are told they will die in 20 minutes and must first write goodbye letters to their loved ones. "We teach them how to be men," said Warrior Week founder Garrett J. White. This is the same Warrior program that Louis Ruelas is seen in this video. Because I know that Garrett White runs it. So a 40-year-old blonde with tattooed biceps who looks like a video game soldier. Women are leading both across the board in business and at home and living more powerfully than men today, and that's causing complete chaos for men. While launched Warrior Week in 2012 to offer guidance to wayward souls, like he once was, at 23, he was divorced, bankrupt, and recovering from cancer. He pulled his life together and built a $1 million real estate empire, then lost it in the mortgage banking crisis of 2007. That's when he reinvented himself as a life and business guru. Tony Robbins meets The Rock. "There's a primal nature in men that has been completely castrated," said White. Warrior Week is a boot camp held 10 to 12 times a year. Where participants receive a mix of intense physical and mental training with a focus on emotional development. There's even a course on meditation. Members of the so-called Warrior Brotherhood range in age from 35 to 55. White said he receives approximately 500 applications for each Warrior Week and 20 or so spots. He added that his applicants fall into one of 2 categories. There are guys who have built something and lost it and are stuck. And then we have guys who are even more dangerous. They're killing it and bored. First up for potential warriors is the application with questions such as, "Have you ever been punched in the face by another man?" "I've been a United States Marine, combat action, Iraq, and Afghanistan," said William Toadmine, 40, who owns a car dealership and lives in Delaware. He completed the program in March 2016. "Warrior Week was a tough application process. It was the first time I had a man tell me I was a coward." So guys go through this boot camp, this warrior boot camp, because they're trying to, better themselves in some major way. And they're also trying to come to terms with like an identity crisis or whatever it might be. Now, I do want to point out that the gentleman in this article, Rusty Ram, he got indicted. I'll tell you about him in a minute. So the occupants, obviously, in this warrior program, some of them are pretty big risk takers, I'd say. Let me talk about Rusty Ram for a second. So it turns out Rusty Ram is somewhat of an associate of Louis Ruela's. I mean, I don't know if they met through the warrior camp or whatever, but needless to say, Rusty Ram was indicted for another leadless scam just like Jen Shah's, where he was running companies that were selling to elderly leads magazine subscriptions that they didn't want and they couldn't really use, and he was indicted over it. Now, the case hasn't gone to a jury trial yet, to my knowledge, so it's still an outstanding matter. But it is really crazy that, you know, this man was taken down in the same way that Jen Shah is, and I wonder if Jen Shah knows him. And I also thought it was weird that Louis Ruela's company, Digital Media Solutions, sells and investigates and puts together lead lists for brands. Anyway, I found a press release from the Justice Department where they talk about 3 people related to Rusty's scheme that did plead guilty. And they also mention Rusty in the press release as it relates to these 3 defendants that pleaded guilty in a related indictment, much like the Jen Shah case that has many, many like related cases to it. So I'm going to read that. Here's how it reads. According to his guilty plea and documents filed with the court, Christensen worked as a call center manager for several fraudulent magazine companies, including MO Management LLC, Preferred Media Source Inc., Preferred Media Solutions, American Readers Service, Atlantic Media Source, North American Direct Service Inc., North America's Reader's Choice. These companies had telemarketing call centers in Fort Lauderdale, Cape Coral, Florida. These companies were owned by Michael Ulrich, who pleaded guilty to mail fraud on July 2nd, 2020, and were operated on behalf of codependent Russell Ram. That's Rusty Ram, the same one from the warrior camp. I can't believe how familiar this sounds to you guys, especially if you watch Shah Shocker on ABC Hulu. I really think you should watch that show that I did. It was a very good show. Okay. Christensen trained telemarketers to use deceptive sales scripts designed to defraud victim consumers, many of whom were elderly. Oh, that's strange. That's familiar. Or otherwise vulnerable, by tricking them into signing up for expensive magazine subscription packages. Between June 2009 and 2020, the fraudulent magazine companies defrauded victims out of approximately 98 million. I'm sorry, 98 million. Wow. I got to take a minute on that one. As part of his guilty plea, Christensen agreed to pay $100,000 in restitution to the victims of his fraud conspiracy. Russell Rusty Ram faced 8 felony charges. Prosecutors alleged that through multiple Kansas-based companies, he committed massive fraud related to magazine subscriptions, which I described from the previous press release, to the tune of more than $300 million, with more than 150,000 victims for 20 years. Ram was arrested when this was written, which was November 9th, 2020, and is among 60 defendants in the federal indictment. Each of the 8 charges against him carries a penalty of 30 years in prison. Federal investigators call Ram one of the scheme leaders, along with David Mulder, who they said, quote, owned companies that provided an array of services to companies involved in fraudulent magazine sales. I wonder if Louis and Rusty were friends. Probably get pretty tight at warrior camp, I'd say. Okay, let's continue. Oh, I love this warrior camp. It's very, juicy. Okay, so let's think, who else could be in this warrior camp? Maybe Joe Marinucci from Digital Media Solutions, which is Louis Ruela's company he co-founded. Joe is CEO of DMS. They do telemarketing and lead list generation too, oddly. Just everybody seems to be doing this type of work now. It must be very popular with companies that are looking for leads, I guess. Anyway, I found an article about him, January 7, 2021. Ad tech company founder drops $7 million on a waterfront Jupiter mansion. Wow, he's making bank at DMS. Okay, so you guys are going to think I'm crazy, but I got preoccupied with Joe Marinucci because I'm like, he seems like he's pretty tight with Louis Ruelas. And I'm like curious about this lead generation and all these companies seemingly doing these lead generation things. It's like weird, right? Especially since this came up recently, obviously, you know, like I said, in the Shaw Shocker. So Joe Marinucci, it turns out, has had 2 domestic violence arrests against his wife from 2016 and 2020. I found that in my usual resources, and I am just in shock. How does this man run a publicly traded company but have domestic violence reports on him, like of hitting his wife and all this stuff? Like, this is crazy. Now, normally, I would have just kind of thought nothing about this gossip that I was sent. But once I learned about what was going on with Joseph Marinucci, I said to myself, gee, could it be that Louis Ruelas went to the warrior camp twice? Once after he hit his ex-fiancé, and then again after he left his other ex-fiancé in Cape Cod? I mean, that's just speculation, of course. I have no idea if that happened. Probably didn't. So there's another guy in the Warrior video that Louis Ruelas is in, and he's all the way in the, like, camera right-hand corner. I'll show you a picture in a minute. His name is Jason Kurtz, okay? And he works for a company as managing partner of Revolve Capital Group, which I guess does loans. They say they're a privately held real estate investment firm located in Irvine, California, that specializes in the purchase, management, and sale of first lien, non-performing, I guess, properties. But he, I guess, does loans too. But anyway, it's kind of interesting that he's in the Warrior video. He's obviously an associate and friends with Louis Ruelas. So what I found out was, so guess who else works at Revolve Capital? Frankie Catania. Yes, the cute kid who's in the movie that's Dolores and Frank's son. He's an asset manager at Revolve Capital. I don't know. I wonder if Louis is involved with that company too somehow. Probably not, but maybe. But I would say that it's possible that Dolores needed a job for Frankie and Louis might have set him up with a job working for his friend at Revolve Capital who he went to Warrior camp with, right? So maybe Dolores will have Louis back in this whole endeavor this season on Real Housewives of New Jersey, not just for Teresa's sake, but also because her son works at his associate's company, Revolve Capital. Oh, plot thickens. I want to throw in to the end of this video that Teresa has gone public saying she's not signing a prenup. I do not believe she put any money into the house that she's living with Louis Ruelas, but as time goes on, Louis Ruelas is going to take on more and more of her bills and her house and her everything and her daughter's stuff. And there's just a lot of stuff around this guy, you know, like that, like she shouldn't be giving up her power for sure. You know, if she's into bad boys that have like a million problems and a million friends that have a million problems, then this is definitely that guy, I think. But like, you definitely don't want to surrender your power or give him access to your stuff. And I think Andy Cohen senses that, which is why he was basically begging her on the show to reconsider publicly, because he knows what's in the post. Let's just hope that she snaps out of it, because she doesn't need any more problems, you know? She's talented. She just, like, forget the man, you know, or find someone with, like, a traditional job. Like, he's a lawyer, he's a doctor, he's a, you know, like, that's what she needs. And her daughters need that stability as well. Or they're going to end up dating a bunch of jokers, you know what I'm saying? Because that's what happens. So I just hope that, you know, for Teresa's sake, you know, or maybe he'll leave her. Maybe because of the show shining a light on, you know, everything. You know how it is. I mean, everything will come out, everything. So, I mean, maybe he'll leave her and make it easy so that he doesn't have any more people looking under, you know, his skirt. I mean, let's just face it. This all came out of a Warrior video, right? So if you like my videos, like, subscribe, and hit that notification button. And on that note, I'm out of here. One last thing I noticed before I go. Jason Kurtz changed the company name on his LinkedIn from Revolve Capital just like recently, I think, to this new company, like Granite something. But like the description's the same. Like he didn't change the description. I'm just saying, it's kind of weird. I don't know. I'm leaving this here for now. I mean, I have more in the Patreon. Yes, you must go to the Patreon for more.